Your biggest trading enemy is not the market, it is the person staring at the screen. You can have a perfect strategy, a solid plan, and years of experience, yet one emotional decision can destroy everything. You enter because you are afraid of missing the move. You hold because your ego refuses to accept the loss. You take another trade because greed whispers that the next one will fix everything. Then impatience takes over. And suddenly you are no longer following your plan. You are fighting yourself. But here is the dangerous part. Most traders do not realize when this happens. They blame the market, they blame the setup, they blame bad luck, they blame everything except the one thing they can actually control. In this video, you will see how ego quietly changes your decisions, how fear makes you hesitate at the worst moment, how greed disguises itself as confidence, why impatience destroys discipline, and why the need to be right can cost you more than a losing trade ever could. And by the end, you may see your trading completely differently. Because the market does not need to defeat you, it only needs to expose what you have never learned to control. Chapter 1. The enemy inside you. The market is not trying to hurt you. It does not know you exist. It does not care about your money, your goals, your past losses, or the trade you desperately need to win. Today, yet somehow, every time the market moves against you, it feels personal. You watch the price fall, and your heart starts beating faster. You look at your open position and think, this cannot be happening. Then another thought appears. Maybe it will come back. You wait. The loss gets bigger. You tell yourself you are being patient, but deep down you are refusing to admit that you were wrong. This is where the real battle begins. Not on the chart, not inside the candles, inside you. Think about the last time you made a trade that you knew you should not have taken. You probably saw the warning signs. You knew your plan. You knew your risk. You knew the conditions were not perfect, but something inside you said, just take it. Maybe you were afraid the market would move without you. Maybe you had just taken a loss and wanted to recover it. Maybe you had a winning day and suddenly felt invincible. Whatever the reason, you entered. For a few seconds, you felt powerful. You felt like you had control. Then the market moved the other way, and that confidence disappeared. Now you were angry. Now you were nervous. Now you were searching for reasons to stay in the trade. It will reverse. The market is just testing me. I cannot take this loss. Notice what happened. The market did not change your personality. It revealed it. This is something many traders never understand. Your biggest trading enemy can wear your face. It can sound like your own voice. It can use logic to hide emotion. That is what makes it dangerous. Fear does not always say, I am afraid. Sometimes it says, wait for a better entry. Greed does not always say, I want more money. Sometimes it says, this setup is too good to miss. Ego does not always say, I am better than everyone. Sometimes it says, I cannot close this trade because I know I am right. Impatience does not always scream. Sometimes it simply whispers, take one more trade. These emotions rarely arrive looking dangerous. They arrive disguised as reasonable decisions. And this is why trading can become such a painful mirror. You may enter the market thinking you are there to make money, but the market starts showing you things about yourself that you did not want to see. It shows you how badly you want to be right. It shows you how uncomfortable you are with uncertainty. It shows you how quickly confidence can become arrogance. It shows you how difficult it is to accept a small loss when your ego believes that winning is part of your identity. You thought you were trading against millions of other participants, but sometimes you're really trading against your own need for control. Let me tell you something important. You do not need to eliminate fear to become a disciplined trader. You do not need to destroy your ego completely. You do not need to become emotionless. That is impossible. You are human. The goal is different. The goal is to stop letting your emotions make decisions for you. Fear can be present, and you can still follow your plan. Doubt can be present, and you can still wait. A losing trade can hurt, and you can still close it. A winning trade can excite you, and you can still walk away. That is discipline, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to act correctly while emotion is screaming for control. The strange part is that the market often gives you exactly what you need to become better, but rarely in the way you expect. A loss can teach you patience. A missed trade can teach you acceptance. A bad decision can expose your weakness. A series of losses can force you to question the identity you built around being right. And when you finally stop asking, why did the market do this to me? And start asking, why did I react this way? Something changes. The questions become deeper, the answers become uncomfortable, but that discomfort is where growth begins. Because once you understand that the market is not your enemy, you are forced to face a much harder truth. If you are the problem, then you cannot simply find a new strategy and escape. You cannot change indicators and escape. You cannot change time frames and escape. You cannot keep searching for the perfect system and escape. Eventually, the same mind will follow you into every trade. And that mind carries something far more powerful than any strategy. It carries your ego, your fear, your greed, your impatience, and your desperate need to be right. And in the next battle, one of those emotions is going to take control when you least expect it. Chapter 2, when ego takes control. There is a moment in every trader's journey when a losing trade stops being just a losing trade. It becomes a personal insult. You look at the chart and think, I was right, the market is wrong. That sentence sounds harmless, but it can quietly destroy an account. Because once your ego becomes involved, you are no longer trying to manage a trade. You are trying to prove something. You want to prove that your analysis was correct. You want to prove that you understand the market. You want to prove that you're not the trader who makes mistakes. And suddenly closing a small loss feels more painful than taking a much bigger one. You keep holding, you keep hoping, you keep finding reasons to stay, not because the trade is good, but because your ego cannot accept the possibility that you were wrong. This is where ego becomes dangerous. It does not always feel like arrogance. Sometimes ego looks like confidence. You have a few winning trades, and suddenly you believe you understand everything. You increase your position. You take trades outside your plan. You stop respecting your limits because you think you have finally figured the market out. Then the market reminds you that confidence without discipline is just another form of risk. One unexpected move can erase days of progress. One emotional decision can turn a calm trader into a desperate trader. And once desperation enters the picture, your decisions become even worse. You are no longer thinking about the next good decision. You are thinking about getting back what you lost. Have you ever noticed how badly you want to be right when money is involved? Imagine entering a trade with complete confidence. You tell yourself, this is the one. The market moves against you. At first you stay calm. Then the loss grows. You begin searching for information that supports your position. You ignore everything that challenges it. You say it has to reverse. Then you move your stop. You give the trade more room. You tell yourself you are being patient, but you are not being patient. You are protecting your ego. There is a huge difference. Patience follows the plan. Ego changes the plan because reality is uncomfortable. The need to be right is one of the most expensive emotions in trading. Think about that. You can be wrong about a trade and lose a small amount of money, or you can refuse to admit you are wrong and lose much more. The market does not charge you for making mistakes. It charges you for refusing to accept them. That is why professional thinking is so different from emotional thinking. A disciplined trader does not ask, how can I prove my trade is right? They ask, what would prove my idea wrong? That question changes everything. It removes the need to defend your prediction. It turns the trade into a decision that can be evaluated instead of a battle that must be won. And here is the deeper problem. Many traders build their identity around being successful. They want to see themselves as smart, disciplined, talented, and different from everyone else. So when a trade loses, it feels like more than losing money. It feels like losing part of that identity. The mind starts whispering, if you close this trade, you admit you failed. But that is a lie. A controlled loss does not make you a failure. Refusing to control a loss because you are afraid of looking wrong is far more damaging. You are not your trade. You are not your last result. You are not your winning percentage. Your real edge is your ability to make the next decision without letting the last decision control you. Let me tell you something. The strongest trader in the room is not the person who predicts every move. That person does not exist. The strongest trader is the one who can say, I was wrong. Without falling apart, they can close the position, they can accept the loss, they can step away from the screen. They do not need revenge. They do not need to prove anything to the market. They understand that being wrong is part of the game. Their ego does not disappear. It simply stops driving the car. And once you learn to separate your identity from your trades, something powerful happens. A loss becomes information instead of humiliation. A mistake becomes feedback instead of a personal attack. You stop fighting reality, but ego rarely gives up quietly. When you finally stop needing to be right, another emotion begins to test you. It does not attack your confidence, it attacks your courage. It appears when the setup is finally there, the opportunity is finally in front of you, and your mind suddenly remembers every painful loss you have ever experienced. You know what you should do, but your hand refuses to move. That is when the next enemy steps forward, fear. Chapter 3. When fear takes over, Fear does something strange to a trader. It can make you see danger everywhere, even when the opportunity is right in front of you. You study the chart, you wait for your setup. The conditions finally appear, everything you were waiting for is there. But then your mind remembers the last trade you lost. You remember the money disappearing. You remember the feeling in your stomach. You remember staring at the screen, hoping the price would turn around. And suddenly you hesitate. You tell yourself, maybe I should wait. Then you wait a little longer. The market moves, the setup works, you watch the trade go exactly where you expected it to go, but you are not in it. Now comes the painful part. You feel frustrated, you feel angry, you tell yourself, I knew it, but knowing is not enough. Fear did not stop you from understanding the market. Fear stopped you from acting on your plan. This is how fear controls traders. It does not always tell you to stop trading. Sometimes it tells you to trade smaller, then smaller again, until the decision means nothing. Sometimes it tells you to exit a good trade too early because you cannot handle seeing your profit disappear. You enter with confidence. The trade moves in your favor, and suddenly you become afraid of losing what you have. So you close it. You take a small profit. Then the market continues moving without you. You watch the price reach the target you originally planned. You sit there thinking, why did I get out? The problem was not your strategy. The problem was that your emotions could not tolerate uncertainty. You wanted a guaranteed outcome in a game where certainty does not exist. Understand this. Fear is not proof that you should avoid a trade. Fear is often proof that the outcome matters too much to you. When every trade feels like it must win, every loss becomes terrifying. When every position feels connected to your financial future, your confidence becomes fragile. You start thinking about the money before you think about the decision. You think, what if I lose? Then another thought comes. What if I lose again? Then another. What if I never become profitable? Suddenly, one trade has become a judgment about your entire future. That is too much emotional weight for a single decision to carry. The solution is not to become fearless. Fearless traders do not exist. The goal is to become comfortable with uncertainty. You need to understand that you can make the right decision and still lose. You can make the wrong decision and still win. That is one of the hardest truths in trading. A winning trade does not automatically mean you made a good decision. A losing trade does not automatically mean you made a bad decision. You must judge the process, not just the outcome. If you followed your plan, managed your risk, and accepted the possibility of losing, then the result is simply one result. It does not define you. Think about how different your trading would feel if you genuinely accepted the loss before entering. Imagine clicking the button and already knowing that the trade might fail. Not hoping it will fail, but accepting that it can. Now the market moves against you. You feel the emotion, but you are not shocked. You do not need to panic. You do not need to move your stop. You do not need to invent a new reason to stay. You already accepted the possibility. That is emotional preparation. You are not trying to control the market. You are controlling your response to the market. And fear becomes even more dangerous after a painful loss. One loss can become two because you hesitate on the next bid opportunity. Then two losses become a missed week. You start thinking you have lost your ability, your confidence drops. You begin searching for a new strategy. Maybe the strategy is broken. Maybe the market has changed. Maybe you need another indicator. But sometimes nothing is wrong with the strategy. You are simply afraid to trust your own process again. You are carrying the emotional weight of the last trade into the next. One, the market is giving you a new situation, but your mind is still living inside the old one. This is where real growth begins. You learn to separate the past from the present. You learn that yesterday's loss has no authority over today's decision. You learn to take the next valid setup without needing revenge, certainty, or comfort. You learn to accept that fear may sit beside you while discipline remains in control. That is strength. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward while fear is still there. But just when you think fear is the only emotion you need to master, another emotion arrives with a completely different voice. Fear tells you that you might lose. Greed tells you that you can have more. And that voice can become almost impossible to satisfy. Chapter 4. When greed wants more, imagine you finally have the kind of trading day you dreamed about. Your trade is moving in your favor. The profit is growing. You feel calm at first, but then something changes. You look at the number on your screen and think, what if I can make even more? That small thought can change everything. A reasonable profit suddenly feels too small. The target you planned before entering the trade suddenly feels unnecessary. You move your expectations higher. You tell yourself, the market is strong, why get out now? You are no longer following the plan that gave you confidence in the first place. You are chasing a feeling. You want more. Then the market turns. The profit starts disappearing. You watch the green number become smaller and smaller. You think it will come back. Then your profit disappears completely. Now you are sitting with nothing but regret, wondering why you could not simply take what the market gave you. This is the quiet power of greed. It rarely looks dangerous in the beginning. It often looks like ambition. It tells you that you should push harder. It tells you that you are capable of more. It makes you believe that taking another trade is confidence. It makes you believe that increasing your size is a sign that you are becoming a better trader. But there is a difference between ambition and greed. Ambition is controlled by emotion. Ambition says, I will improve over time. Greed says, I need more right now. Ambition respects risk. Greed forgets risk when the reward looks attractive. Greed becomes especially powerful after a winning trade. A loss can make you cautious, but a big win can make you careless. You make money, and your brain starts feeling powerful. You think you have found your rhythm. You begin believing that you cannot lose. So you take another trade, then another. The first trade was based on your plan. The second trade was based on greed. You are still looking at the same chart, but you are no longer the same trader. Your emotions have changed, your standards have changed, and the market does not care that you had a great trade 5 minutes ago. Let me tell you something important. Greed does not always mean wanting millions of dollars. Greed can be wanting one more trade, one more dollar, one more winning position, one more opportunity to feel successful. That is why it can hide so easily. You may not think of yourself as greedy. You may simply think you are being aggressive. But ask yourself what happens when you already have enough. Can you stop? Can you walk away from the screen after a strong win? Can you accept the profit without needing to prove that you can make even more? That ability to stop is one of the clearest signs of emotional control. The hardest lesson is learning that more is not always better. More trades do not automatically mean more profit. More risk does not automatically mean more opportunity. Sometimes the best decision is doing nothing. Sometimes the strongest move is closing the platform and walking away. But your mind may fight this. It may say you are wasting an opportunity. It may say the market is moving right now. It may say just one more trade. And if you listen long enough, you will find yourself entering a position that never existed in your plan. Greed also changes the way you see money. A small profit begins to feel disappointing. A normal trading day begins to feel like failure. You start comparing today's result with your biggest winning day. That comparison creates pressure. You no longer trade the market in front of you. You trade against your own expectations. You want every day to be extraordinary. But consistency is built from ordinary decisions repeated again and again. The trader who can accept a normal day is often stronger than the trader who constantly chases an exceptional one. Eventually, you realize something painful. The market may have given you enough, but you were not satisfied. The problem was never that the opportunity was too small. The problem was that your desire had no limit. And once greed teaches you to chase more, another emotion begins pushing you from behind. You start feeling uncomfortable when nothing is happening. You cannot sit still. You feel like you must act. You open the chart just to find a reason to trade. You create opportunities where none exist. You convince yourself that waiting is weakness. That is when impatience enters the room, and it may turn your desire for more into a habit you no longer recognize. Chapter 5. When impatience breaks your discipline, the hardest part of trading is sometimes doing absolutely nothing. You sit in front of the screen, the candles move, the market rises, the market falls, and you are waiting. Minutes pass, then an hour. Nothing matches your plan. You know you should stay out, but your mind starts getting uncomfortable. You begin thinking, I have been sitting here all day. I need to take something. That sentence sounds simple, but it can lead to a chain of decisions that slowly destroys your discipline. You enter a trade that does not meet your rules. You tell yourself it is close enough. Then another trade appears, and you take that one too. Soon, you are not trading because there is a real opportunity. You are trading because you cannot tolerate waiting. Impatience is dangerous because it makes inactivity feel like failure. You begin believing that if you are not trading, you are not making progress. But the market does not reward you for being busy. It rewards you for making good decisions. There is a huge difference between activity and progress. You can take 10 trades and learn nothing. You can take one trade and improve your discipline. You can spend 6 hours watching the market and make your worst decision of the day in the final 5 minutes, simply because you were tired of waiting. This is why patience is not passive. Patience is an active decision to protect yourself from unnecessary action. Think about what happens when you are impatient after a loss. You close a trade in frustration, you look at the screen and immediately want another chance. Your mind says, I need to get that money back. You search for another setup. You find one that is not really there, but you convince yourself it is close enough. You enter. The trade moves against you again. Now the emotional pressure doubles. You are angry at the market, angry at yourself, and desperate to recover. This is how revenge trading begins. One loss creates impatience, and patience creates another trade. Another trade creates another loss. Then the cycle becomes emotional instead of rational. But impatience is not only about losses. It can appear after wins too. You make a profit and feel energized. You want to keep the momentum going. You think, I am seeing the market clearly today. So you start taking trades faster. You stop waiting for confirmation. You stop asking whether the setup is truly there. You begin trusting your feelings more than your process. The first few trades may even work, which makes the problem worse. Now your brain believes the behavior is correct. You become faster, more confident, and more careless. Then one bad trade reminds you that the market never promised to reward your impatience. Understand this. The market will always create another opportunity. Maybe not in the next 5 minutes, maybe not today. But another opportunity will come. You do not need to catch every move. You do not need to participate in every candle. You do not need to make money every single day. The pressure to constantly act is often created by your own expectations. You think you are missing something when you are actually protecting yourself. Sometimes the trade you did not take is the trade that saves your account. Real patience is uncomfortable because there is no excitement in it. There is no rush. There is no instant reward. You simply wait while everyone else seems to be doing something. That can make you question yourself. You see another trader talking about a huge win. You see screenshots of profits. You watch the market move without you. Your mind says, I should be doing more. But you do not know what happened behind that screenshot. You do not know the losses. You do not know the emotional cost. Comparing your process to someone else's highlight can destroy your ability to stay patient. The disciplined trader learns to become comfortable with boredom. That sounds strange, but it is powerful. When you can sit through boring periods without forcing a trade, you become harder to manipulate. You stop chasing. You stop reacting. You stop meeting constant excitement. You begin waiting for your best opportunities instead of creating mediocre ones. And slowly your relationship with the market changes. You no longer ask, what can I trade right now? You start asking, is there anything worth trading right now? That single question can protect you from hundreds of emotional decisions. But even after you learn to control ego, fear, greed, and impatience, there is still one deeper trap waiting for you. It hides behind all of them. It makes you defend bad decisions. It makes you chase losses. It makes you fear admitting mistakes. It makes you believe that your prediction must become reality. It is the need to be right. And when you finally understand why being right matters so much to you, you will discover the final battle is not about making better predictions. It is about becoming someone who no longer needs the market to validate who they are. Chapter 6, the day you finally master yourself. One day, you will sit in front of the same screen that once controlled your emotions, and something will feel different. The market will move against you, and you will not panic. A trade will hit your stop, and you will not feel the need to revenge trade. A setup will run without you, and you will not chase it. You will see a huge move and feel the temptation to enter late, but you will simply watch it happen. Not because you stopped caring about money, not because you became emotionless. You became stronger than the emotions that once controlled your decisions. You finally understand that trading is not about controlling what happens next. It is about controlling what you do when you do not know what happens next. This is where everything changes. You stop asking the market to prove that you are smart. You stop needing every trade to win. You stop believing that a loss says something about your ability. You stop looking at one trade as a test of your future. Instead, you start seeing every decision as one small part of a much bigger process. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you make a mistake. Sometimes you do everything correctly and still lose money. You accept it. You move forward. The emotional storm becomes smaller because you no longer feed it with stories. Your ego becomes quieter. Fear may still appear, but it does not decide for you. Greed may still whisper, but you do not have to obey it. Impatience may tell you to take another trade, but you can wait. The need to be right may tell you to hold a losing position, but you can close it. This is real self-mastery. It is not becoming a perfect trader. It is becoming a trader who can recognize what is happening inside their own mind before that emotion becomes an action. Think about how much freedom that creates. Imagine losing a trade and still feeling calm. Imagine having a winning day and not becoming reckless. Imagine watching a perfect setup disappear and not feeling desperate. Imagine closing your platform because your plan says there is nothing to do, even while every part of you wants action. That is freedom. You are no longer controlled by the market's movements. You are no longer addicted to the feeling of being right. You are no longer searching for excitement every time you open a chart. You have learned that sometimes the most powerful decision is no decision at all. And there is another important shift. You stop measuring yourself only by money. You begin measuring yourself by behavior. Did you follow your rules? Did you respect your risk? Did you stay patient? Did you accept uncertainty? Did you control your reaction after a loss? Did you stop when you were supposed to stop? These questions become more important than the result of one trade. Because when your behavior improves, your results have a chance to improve with it. But when your behavior is chaotic, even a lucky winning streak can become dangerous. Let me tell you something. The goal is not to defeat your emotions. You cannot defeat something that is part of being human. Fear will visit you. Greed will tempt you. Ego will challenge you. Impatience will test you. The need to be right will return when you least expect it. The difference is that you no longer have to give them the steering wheel. You can notice the emotion without becoming the emotion. You can feel pressure without obeying it. You can feel uncertainty without running from it. That space between feeling and action is where your power lives. Eventually, you realize that the market was never your enemy. It was simply a mirror. It showed you where you were weak. It exposed your attachment to being right. It exposed your fear of losing. It exposed your hunger for more. It exposed your inability to wait. It exposed the parts of yourself you wanted to ignore. And instead of blaming the mirror, you finally decided to change what you saw in it. That is the transformation most traders are actually searching for. Not a secret strategy, not a perfect indicator, not a magical system that removes uncertainty. They are searching for control over themselves. Because once you master yourself, the market becomes a different place. You stop fighting every move. You stop chasing every opportunity. You stop taking every loss personally. You understand that your job is not to predict the future. Your job is to respond intelligently to whatever the future brings. And that mindset changes more than your trading. It changes how you handle uncertainty, pressure, failure, success, and even your own ambitions outside the market. So the next time you sit in front of the chart and feel that old voice telling you to prove yourself, remember what the market has been trying to teach you all along. You do not need to be right. You do not need to win every trade. You do not need to catch every move. You do not need more excitement. You need more control. The moment you stop trying to conquer the market and start mastering yourself, you stop being a trader who reacts to every emotion. You become a trader who chooses. And that is when the real game finally begins.